Yeah, we don't. He could have a little bit of sidewall damage there to the car that could be affecting his aerodynamics just a little bit, but here comes Doug thinking about a move to the outside, going down into the chicane. He's going to have to be very brave to do it and pulls it off. Oh, you can't get a whole lot closer than that. My goodness gracious.
Let's take a look at this from the hood, because this is where Partridge needs to change his pants, and Kinchler probably does too after he saw what happened in his mirrors. But Partridge comes in too hot, clips that inside curve, gets unsettled, then he's on the brakes. We're going to go in slow-mo here to see how close it was, and it was very close.
Yeah, the top three have been an incredible fight. Oh man.
Gently does it, boys, as they make their way down. They bang wheels. Oh, Sebastian Tixier, he goes tumbling over. Trengerade going off the circuit. Goodness gracious. Looked like Jim Shedlick went off the track in sympathy there.
This is the view that he has going through. He sees a couple lights in the distance, trying to get it rejoined.
Oh, that's not good. Careful, boys, careful. Too wide coming up, Eau Rouge. And the loser there is going to be Vaughn as Karthik Pai keeps his foot in it. Vaughn going to lose another position there to Mika Lino. And Lino going to go for a 2-for-1 as they come down the Kamel straight. He has got such massive overspeed. Look at that move from the number 5 machine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing. And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
The GTP races have been anyone's game from week to week, while the GTOs have continued as they often have, Yuko Leskala's playground. But a track as punishing and frantic as Brands Hatch could manage to unseat the multi-time champion. We'll see if this British Classic does so as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi everyone, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Behind the scenes is our director Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Brands Hatch did see its own share of sports car and endurance racing over the years. Let's take a closer look to see what makes up this vintage circuit. Welcome to Brands Hatch. When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula One to Formula Ford, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day. Well, Craig, since this is your neck of the woods, I'll let you try and tell us a little bit about how these cars are going to be here.
Yeah, hi, Joe. Yeah, my neck of the woods. Welcome to Brands Hatch, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of those classic tracks for Formula One, but we are driving prototypes and GT cars. So for those GTPs, keep the speed up on some of these corners, the high-speed corners, Westfield, Sheen, maybe even Paddock Hill, you could call that too. A fast corner. Use the speed. Mind the curves. We don't want to see these cars bouncing. They are some old-style curves. And also, we have to watch about traffic management around here with these cars. Very tight corners around some of these corners. You've got to be careful with the traffic. You've got to be careful not to be sending it in here. Take your time. Look, there's only three straights there that you can use. GTOs, tie grip. Tie grip, tie grip, tie grip. Want to make sure that you're not losing the rear when you're hitting the brakes. And also, be careful when you're using the gears. Let's not go down too low on the gears, otherwise you may be a bit too slow. And finally, with traffic management, don't watch the mirrors. The key thing, though, Joe, this is a 60-minute race. Pit stop and tyre wear is important here, as well as how much fuel you're going to put in. It can be won and lost in that pit lane.
Yeah, we'll go over that in a little bit, but it's certainly going to be a talking point since this is a different format. But before that, let's head to the points here for today's race. Aitor Sintes Galindo still leading the way, looking to take a second championship, but he's having to fight Xavier Sanchez for this one. Joseph Mudrack has been doing quite well lately, has got himself into the top three and is only 10 points behind. From there, we get a bit of a jump. Amber Dawnbaugh has been consistent in showing up, but I wouldn't expect her to stay up here in the points based on the speed she's shown unless she can really have some incredible consistency. Laust Olsen, probably expecting him to eventually kind of jump up the order as he's had a lot of good finishes in previous couple seasons, but for some reason just can't seem to get it together completely this season, as he is still looking for his first win. From there on down, you can see we get very close, including an 8-way tie between Clapper de Turk, Alex Gall, and 5 other drivers down for 8th place. So hopefully that breaks up somewhat after today. But let's head to Craig now for the GTO standings as well.
Yeah, as Joe mentioned at the start of the broadcast, who can stop Leskala? He is currently in the lead, and he has only 2 races counted. You've got that tie as well from Hamill Smith and Miller as well, just behind him. And you can see, yet again, in the GTOs, look how close it is in the standings. Anybody's game at the moment. You look at Miller there, Olmo as well, after that fantastic drive last week, just right there, sniffing at the back there. Haycox and Covey Visto also tied there. Robert Plumley still in there as well. There are a lot of names that you expect to see here with so many close. And like I said, who can stop Leskala? I mean, that's going to be the story of the race, isn't it?
Absolutely. But we got a couple other stories to talk about as we go over the race details for today's event. We're on round 4. And as we mentioned, 60 minutes. If you're not new to the series, normally they do 40-minute sprint races. The 60-minute means that there is at least 1 pit stop needed for both classes. However, it is not required. And we have seen some cases at some tracks where drivers have been able to no stop it. I'm not sure if that's possible today. We'll go to Craig about that in a bit. Open setup series. And you got to think that around here, most of them are trying to put as much downforce as they can into the car, especially in the prototypes. They have a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25. That said, there's not a lot of paved runoff here, so I'm not expecting most of them to reach those incident limits today. So it is a big field out here, and already most of them have put their laps in the GTPs. Laust Olsen has responded to my criticisms immediately and has put himself on the provisional pole. And a name I'm not familiar with, Carl Moore, is currently in second next to him, ahead of Sanchez. So Sanchez is actually heading in through the final corner right now in that number 2. Let's see if he can go any quicker and take that front row away. A 108.3 is actually good enough for pole. He doesn't have sights on the front row. He has sights for the top spot, Craig.
Yeah, brilliant. Taking that away from Olsen, who's already done his laps. And Carl JT Moore has already done his lap, by the way, a name that we haven't seen here in the GTPs or the Camel series, but he is known for his Ford GT2 driving. Great to see him about in the GTOs. I mean, come on, we don't need to say it again. It's Leskola currently leading the field by just the smallest of margins over, again, Javier de Olmo, who has set another blistering lap. It looks to me like Buscemi's just set his final lap, and he's just gone to P3 for 22.967 as well. A lot of these drivers just coming around. It's very tight. I think the top 5 are separated by half a second. And even then, you go down the order for the GTPs, you're looking at just under a tenth each time. It's very close in that whole battle. I'm really curious to see what that translates when it comes to race pace.
Indeed. And I'm a bit surprised that Del Olmo has gotten as close as he did to Leskola. That's a good sign for the impartial viewer that just wants to see a good race. We'll see if he can try and hound the multi-time champion Finn. We've got a couple drivers that still need to set times, but 3 of them look like they're already done. Medel, Lang, and Phillips are all in pit lane, and Stimon just entered. Looks like Fonseca did as well. So I think I'm trying to see if we are all done with those out there on the track and if anybody can take a time. And yeah, I don't see anybody able to do so. Before we get to the grid, though, Craig, I am curious because I know you've been working with some of the drivers behind the scenes and whatnot to help prepping them for the race. Do you think a no stopper is possible since there are so many parts where there's just carried corners? Can they lift and coast enough?
I don't want to be a betting man in this situation. I don't think they can. There are a lot of corners that you can do some lifting and coasting. Yes, I mean, let's be brutally realistic. Westfield Bend, Sheens, 2 of my favorite corners on the track. You probably could do that. But for me, if you need to fuel safe, you need to fuel safe with a lot of gap. And again, we go back to how hard is it to overtake here. There's only 2 real straights, the Pilgrim's Drop and the Brabham Straight. Clearways to me isn't long enough. Can you use those to just lift and gain a lot? If you lift at those 2 straights, maybe 3 straights, you're only saving about, 0.2 of a liter or 0.2 to help you with a lap over the time. Can you extend to that 1 lap? I don't think the trade-off would work. Then again, I'm still new to this with the guys that I help as well. Everybody else does know better than me, so I'm just not going to put my house on it. But qualifying is finally over.
It is indeed, and Xavier Sanchez has claimed the pole over Laust Olsen. It is Carl Moore who's going to be starting in 3rd, and Phil Lake is back, who starts from the outside of row 2, but so is Michael de Turk, one of our winners already in this season. We'll see if he can jump his way up to the top during this race where this track is hard to pass at. Aitor Sintez Galindo, points leader, will start all the way down from 6th. Farron Grau will be in 7th. His teammate not here today, though, curiously. Jack Wells is P8 and Seamus Power 9th. After that, you've got Pablo Suarez rounding out your top 10. The beginning of the next slide has Diego Mastretta in 11th. Daniel Schulte is in P12. Brennan Lim is 13th, and Gianluca Gabbiani P14. Lars Moncano in the 15th spot will be flanked by Michael Spohn in P16. Then you've got David Thomas after that. Also Jean Orandane next to him. Victor Avila Felix will start 19th, and then it's Kurt Clapper starting 20th. Steve Potter will be 21st, followed by 4 drivers in the prototypes that did not set times: Andrew Medel, Ryan Lang, Tim Phillips, and Daniel Stimon.
And in the GTOs, it is Leskola once again leading the charge. And Javier de Olmo showing his qualifying pace yet again on the front row. Gregorio Buscemi will be in P3. Ian Haycock showing another strong performance here in P4. Robert Plumley goes into 5th position, and Andre Schumacher will be 6th. Hideki Kubivista will be 7th with Andreas Schuster in 8th, and behind them will be Jamie Hamill-Smith and Doug Cloud in 9th and 10th respectively. Mika Tupoa will be in 11th with Martin Lauer in 12th. And then Emerson Golden and Stephanie Leslie will be behind them. Jacob Kushik will be there behind them as well in 15th. Conor Babel will be the last of the qualifiers in 16th. And Carlos Fonseca did not set a lap time.
All right, taking off on the pace lap around here. And they do have a fair bit of cool track ahead of them. It's early in the morning, 7:30 a.m. virtual standard time, and that makes it only 66 Fahrenheit, 19 Celsius for the metric folks on the track surface itself. Just a tiny bit of wind, but I got to think, knowing that, Craig, these guys have got to be careful on the brakes and into the braking zones on that first lap.
The first lap is always a crucial one, but especially with these cold track temperatures, you think that you could go send it in a little bit. Hold on, you've got the cold tires. Just be careful with that. Just wait. If you're looking for an early move on a first lap here, look at Druids, the hairpin, turn 2. That is going to be a place that usually causes a little bit of bottlenecking on the first lap. So look there for these prototypes. For the GTOs, it is going to be a very scary run down into Paddock Hill Bend, just because of the fact that you will be unsighted. Bet some too wide there, and like I said, I don't want to do an over-under, but the over-under on cars going into the gravel trap on the first corner, on the first lap, is 5.
All right. I'm going to take the under, actually. I'm gonna say that these guys will have their stuff together when they come around up the Brabham Straight, but we'll see. And we just have one driver on cams today, and a bit of a tradition here in Kamel. Laust Olsen is joining us to show us his view from the front row once again. We'll see if the pucker factor goes to extremes here today with how narrow this track is, and there's his perspective. Already got a bit of the pucker factor even on the pace lap, so I guess maybe he is feeling nervous as we get ready to start this race. We're in round 4. So we're definitely getting into the thick of the season. Laust needs some better results out there. He needs his first win. And can he beat Sanchez to it today? Pace car is in, and Sanchez is away. Green flag is out. Very good start behind them. Aitor Sintes Galindo almost made it 3 wide, backed out of it. Sanchez first into the first corner. A little bit of a nudge to the side as it looked like Turk and Sintes Galindo got together, looking back to see if any of the prototypes are into the gravel, and we're good. Let's go to the GTO start here, Craig.
GTOs, Lascella is doing very well, and it looks like Olmo having a little bit of a fight with Buscemi, and Buscemi looks to have a really good run here, trying to make a move. There are a couple cars spinning off behind, though, in the GTOs. Olmo able to keep that, but just behind them, you have got Andreas Schuster making moves at the start of this race, making that move straight away. Robert Plumley as well making moves, and you start to see just struggling as they come around. Did not see who that was making a spin, but there were 2 cars at least going off at the first turn.
Koivisto got tipped into the gravel, and Schumacher, I'm not sure if he went off, but I saw him definitely a part of the contact. Regardless, he's able to carry on. Ooh, and Brandon Lim just had an off on the backside of the track. Look at this down into Sterling, though. My goodness, as that was, I think, Turk and Sintes Galindo. Oh, and Aitor, our points leader, is off. Where is he?
Aitor's down the track at the moment. I just can't see what's happened to him here, but he is there. He's gone off. He's down into P8 at the moment. He's having to have another recovery. It just reminds me of last week. He had a bad start, and he had to recover yet again. And already he's down into 8th. He's lost 2 places as he's just now struggling. We'll see a replay very shortly. I'm hoping. Didn't see what happened to him, but he is now catching up to Michael de Turk. And that is a very tough one as well. No idea what happened to him, unfortunately, but he is still there. Coming around Surtees. Do get them messed up with the S's. Can he make a move down into Turk? He's unable to, but he is so far back now. He's, 5 seconds behind the leaders.
Yeah, Sanchez is still up at the point, but Laust Olsen is already dropping off of him. That was through Sheen, actually, that he had his off right here where they're going through once again. Lost 3 cars, lost 3 places, sneaking by him in the process, but he kept his stuff together and managed to keep from doing any damage to it. He's down in 8th now. And he's got some work to do, that's for sure, in this 60-minute race. At least he's got some more time to try and attack. And first up is going to be De Turk. Oh, and we've got a car off. That's Farron Grau. Farron Grau has fallen back, and he is going to go down into ninth. So both teammates, excuse me, I was wrong earlier. I thought that Grau was teammates with a different driver, but he is teammates with Sintez Galindo, and the pair of them have already had issues only on lap 3 now.
It is challenging out there. They are just losing a little bit. I think that was just a little bit of catching the grass coming out of Clark Curve. Was unable to make a move. You see that Sintez Galindo was trying to catch up to De Turk there, was really pushing the car in some of those corners, holding and trying to find any move that he can go, but unfortunately he's just unable to. That is the car going slow as well, coming out of the Clark Curve as we look at the GTOs. That's is Martin Lau.
Yeah, he had an off at Clark there. Just unfortunately went a little bit wide and had to come back on. He's fallen to 14th because of that. Not too far down from where he began this race, but there's been a lot of shuffling throughout the field as mistakes have been made. I'm kind of surprised we haven't lost more cars in all of this.
We've only had, what, one official retiree. I know we had that 2-car accident to start the race, and yeah, I'm really surprised at that myself, and this just really goes that they are trying to keep it calm. Remember, it's an hour race, and I always say when you come to an hour race, you don't need to be aggressive. I'm a very passive driver at the start of a race because of being the whole hour spectacle. You want to just set yourself up, and that looks like what some of these drivers are doing right now. Don't need to be too aggressive. Just set yourself up. And there's 10 seconds in lap pace between both classes. So don't expect to see any lapping of the lap cars yet until, actually I say that, Xavier's coming up, is coming up to the back of the GTOs.
Which just spun off.
And there's another one. Babel's just gone off in P16. So yeah, he's now officially in the GTOs as Babel has retired the car after going off at Sterling's.
Hideki Koivisto's up next. He's got Marvin, who we mentioned a little bit earlier. So yeah, it's going to start coming thick and fast here. And Hideki Koivisto will be the first that he has to challenge, unfortunately, in one of the twistier bits of the circuit as well. So he's not going to have many great opportunities. Phil Lake is still on a charge. He sits in 4th, but has the fastest lap of the race now. And as they come along the Cooper straight, he's going to have to slice to the inside. Koivisto stays on the racing line. Xavier is going to be able to sneak through, but now Laust Olsen has to try and figure out which side to go, and he gets slowed up. Carl Moore, unfortunately, has no place to try and attack and all of that. Both of them lose monstrous time to our leader, Sanchez.
And Sanchez, though, he also had to do a little bit of a lift because he came down Pilgrim's Drop, and there were 2 GTOs going side by side. You start to see them trying to make some moves, trying to find where they can go. Brilliant there for Javier, trying to see where they can go. Laust Olsen now, he sees it. He gets past. This has brought Carl Moore into this as well. Can they make a move going into Sterling's? It's going to be tight. It's not. But the move that Olsen's going a little bit wide, having to go around, almost allowed Lake to make a move. Are they going to get anything at Clark? No. The inside is there. Looks like Leslie just could not take the apex. Moore's looking to make a move here. First time around, they've still got, what, 9 GTOs to go? That's a big one there, and that's a number 5.
That's Sintez Galindo. That's our championship leader. And unfortunately, this did not start because of contact with the GTOs. He actually got tipped around by Michael De Turk. Then Kuciak, unfortunately, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's why you saw him halted, stuck behind that prototype.
That is horrible. That is the way it goes. Here we go again. Let's just see it. Joe's just giving you the good description. There he comes, coming around. You can see the massive gaggle of GTPs there. Just tapped and he chucked him into the air, and yeah, he was on the gravel. A little bit of throttle would do that. Unfortunately, nothing he could have done. Gets going, but what damage does he have there is the question, because that was 2 wheels up in the air, it looked like.
Yeah, it was a pretty good thwack, so hopefully he's not too damaged by that as he's continuing on, it appears. Also, oh, and his teammate Farron Grau just went off as well, and there's multiple cars trying to return to the track. In fact, 3 wide, and Grau's going to get tipped across. Unfortunately, he's shoved into the barrier. There's almost a traffic jam here as everybody's trying to carefully pick through this.
Who wants to drive a Brands Hatch today? As you come out, it's going to be scary. They are all racing around, and Grau, that is massive damage. I think he's got a meatball. He hasn't got a meatball, but I think he's got some steering damage on that. That is heavy. And another one going around as well. What is going on here at the moment? We are only 8 minutes into the race, and already we see other cars going around, and that is the 24. I think it is the 24.
Gabbiani,
yeah, it's Gabbiani, yeah. He's just gone around as well, and I think people, and another one going off. That's 2 going off in front of Gabbiani, and that was that Lang and Simonson.
Yeah, Tupola and Kuciak, I think, are the 2 that just went off right there that we see on screen. Grau had to come into the pits because of the damage. Too much of that. He was actually spun around in that second part by Koivisto. And he was 3 wide. I'd already lost who, I think it was Lau who was on his outside that caused that 3 wide situation. And it was started by something else. I didn't even have a chance to check it out. I wonder if that's what we're going to look at right here. No, this is completely something else coming through Clark and Clearways.
Oh, this is the incident. This was the Sintes Galindo incident, wasn't it?
Yeah. So more stuff happening behind them. Looks like Grau has some secondary contact with it. And now we've got the other incidents. And he just gets shoved off the course, what looks like by one of our Audis. And then 2 drivers having to take a narrow escape to get around the outside. And unfortunately, we're in return. Some people were trying to make eager advantage out of the slow vehicles, and it all kind of fell apart.
Yeah, he had to get himself back on the racing line sometime, and unfortunately, it just caused a little bit, like you said, a traffic jam. Another one spins there and catches, and you can start to see comes through, and then he's like, right, I've got to get going, and there's 3 wide there, and nowhere you can go. That is the perils of lapping the traffic. It did look like the Audi probably just managed to get on the throttle before the car upside down. What on earth was that?
Steve Porter, I think, is what that was. I was actually having to figure that out myself. Oh, he made contact with Tupola and Kuciak, who made the same problem again, and Turk's now off. And this is at Sheen. Oh my goodness, this is absolute chaos out there. And Turk's kind of stuck in an awkward spot trying to get back forward. Obviously, Potter has retired from this race. Winding up upside down. That car not in a good enough place to get back. And, oh, this is live. That is Phil Lake, who had made his way past Moore, but unfortunately has handed that and many more positions back. He falls down to 5th. He's trying to get it going. Seamus Power was a long ways away here in 6th. He's finally now creeping up on the back of him. And it looks like Lake is on his way, and the car seems decent-ish. So he returns to race pace. Holy cow. Michael Turk is now in pit lane trying to get those repairs done. Just want to take a second because we haven't even really checked in on them since the start. Yuko Leskala is still our leader, but he's now a full 4 seconds ahead of Del Olmo. Seems to be a little bit better in race pace here today. In fact, Del Olmo is probably more concerned with those behind him as Buscemi is still challenging for second.
You know how I said at the start, don't mirror watch? Yeah, mirror watch. This is really, I think the speed difference is catching people out, trying to take the lines that they may not be used to, because remember, you have to take a different line trying to lap these cars. We've seen before some of these drivers having to take different lines, and I think that may have happened here, just being unable to do it. I see Seamus Power does have a bit of damage to his wing as he's in some racing. This is some racing as well. As you can start to see, that is the late move. That's a lockup as well, trying to get around that GTP, trying to get around. Not what you want to see, and he's struggling as well. That's the 3060, the tribute livery there. That's the 38. Sorry, Steve Potter. It is the 36. My eyes are deceiving me at the moment, Joe.
Brendan Leb there was going by the likes of Del Olmo and Buscemi. as they've got another friend coming up. Felix now in the 30. Actually has perhaps one of the easier spots to try and get by as he sneaks through along Pilgrim's Drop. Slight defense from Del Olmo just to try and dissuade Buscemi from attacking there. And he's not going to be able to get by this time. Kurt Clapper now is behind them, and this is where it gets awkward. Look at that. He decides to back out of it, probably wise. Buscemi did not want to give up that apex, and it continues on now through Dingledell and Sheen.
Going through Dingledell and Sheen, a little bit of a slide by Clapper there. He has to wait that they go into Sterling's, and you see Buscemi trying to get a run here, and he's going to be compromising what line he takes with Clapper finally going by. Does Clapper get by on Del Olmo here at Clark? He does not. He'll get by no problem. Does that affect a slide from Buscemi there, trying to get on the throttle as soon as he could? He's going to lose not just that time, he's going to lose the slipstream to Del Olmo. He'll have to start this charge once again. Interesting, the top three in both classes has not changed from their starting positions, but everywhere else it's very, very chaotic. I want to give a quick shout out to Andrew Medell, currently the biggest gainer in the race, 9 places, and he looks like he's just made another. He's going side by side with Sintez Galindo.
Oof, so Sintez Galindo on his recovery drive is able to get one more. That's into 11th. Medell backs out of it. Michael Spohn in behind. Can he try and capitalize on what went down? Doesn't look like it. The action is done. He's going to have to make his own path now as they come out of Sterling. But we got to go back to Laust Olsen. He has been held up by a lot of traffic, and not only has Moore caught him, but Wells is there. And it looks like maybe lap traffic. Oh, Phil Lake is off again. Phil Lake is now off in Druids, and this one looks like it was all of his own doing this time.
Straight in the kiddie litter, as DJ would say, and it looks like he's just overcooked it going into Druids, and that is going to be a bit of a struggle for him. Does manage to get that car going, but you spin, those tires are not going to like it. You go on the gravel, those tires are definitely going to be crying. He's got to be careful going around the next few corners as he goes by. Start to see that gap. Look at that gap between there as they take the lead. We still got this 3-car battle, and that's a car on fire. That's one of the lead. That's
Buscemi.
Buscemi.
That's his engine blown. Oh no! After fighting for a potential podium and having such a great season, this is going to be a no score for the number 9. And he has got to be gutted with that one. So as he parks it, that means that Robert Plumley is actually going to be promoted now into 3rd in the GTO class. It's been a bit of a quiet race compared to everybody else from what we've seen, but he's still got Ian Haycox right behind him. That's him in the neon green machine.
Just have a quick look here. Is this a misshift? He goes down. Oh, no, that's the 40. Whoa, he's nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. That's the 41 of David Thomas. Nowhere to go after he misses, as he makes a mistake down into Westfield. And there's nowhere for you to go. Here it is, the 41, down into Westfield. Does he just get in? He just loses the back. Cuts the gravel into the wall, bounces back. He has got the brakes locked down, but that's right on the line. And unfortunately, that is massive damage.
And that's even more frustrating. I'm sure that had nothing to do with Buscemi, just was at the wrong place at the wrong time. We come back to Carl Moore now. Laust Olsen just in front of him, and Jack Wells watching, licking his chops. That's Farron Grau. Now, usually this would be for position, but he's actually a lap down, 2 laps down, it appears, to these guys. So he is not fighting for these spots. He's just trying to wait patiently and see what sort of positions he can pick up and scrabble together any sort of points. But oh man, Plumley right there is a big holdup for Jack Wells. Unfortunately, he's going to lose touch with Moore because of that.
Yeah, he got him the throttle too early, did Wells, and he just slid the back out. But had he not had that, I think he would have got past Plumley. He was unable to do that, but unfortunately, he is back in this situation right here where he's having to try and play catch up. But traffic has been kind to him. Maybe he should be able to catch back up to Carl and Laust as they continue down. Gap keeps closing. They've got a second ahead of them is Del Olmo in the GTOs. This will be the second time past all the GTOs. Just got this, and then Leskalo, who's 5 seconds up the road. And thankfully for these guys, none of them got held up, but it did bring Wells back into the fight.
Interestingly, Phil Lake has taken what I think is his scheduled pit stop. I suspect that might have something to do with some damage. I wonder if the car was off pace. And there he is back out and rolling now down through Graham Hill Bend. Also means that he's off strategy compared to a lot of his rivals. So that could get him clear air, or that could come back to bite him. We'll have to watch and see. Still plenty of racing left to go here today. Let's head back to more, here on screen, because Olsen is under immense pressure, but he's coming up to our GTO leader. That's Leskala, just in front of him. Going to be good timing. They're not going to be held up here.
Going to be held up, and they were able to get that round as well. Kept a different line there just to make sure they weren't too early on the throttle at around 30s, but they're holding on. And you see that Olsen taking a lot more speed, able to just hamper more with that dirty air. He is experienced following, so it should be okay for him, but he is losing a little bit of time. And that's a big one. That's Leskala.
D'Olmo easily up into the lead. Who was that he just had that wreck with? And that was with Brendan Lim, but the wreck started before Brendan got to the scene.
Wells.
Oh, no.
It looks to me like Jack Wells, he just caught the back. He wasn't expecting it. And just got caught up, and that just caused it. That big Leskala out of the race. Here comes the replay right here, and you'll see, I think it was Wells just getting a little bit too early. Nope, the replay. There it is, and that's one.
Well, no, this happens out of Hawthorne. So he already had an off on that lap, it looks like. If we go a little bit farther forward up the lap, wonder. We'll want Jack Wells in the 15 here.
See, he gets held up there, comes by. Now he is going to come up shortly to Leskala a few corners.
No, it happens before this, I think. Yeah, this happens in Hawthorne, so there's a couple corners earlier. See if we can find this. Yeah, here we go. Here's Leskala, and there's Wells, just taking too much speed, not realizing he was going to be that slow. And then a second car coming into him. So he was able to drive it back into the pits. I have a feeling, he does have a meatball flag. So this is more than a scheduled stop. This is him trying to get the car into working order. Regardless, he will have probably lost the chance at the win the way he was limping around this track.
Yeah, that is heavy, Dan. If you've got a meatball flag, you're looking at least 5 minutes of repairs. Can't see him coming straight back out for this, unfortunately. That looks like if he comes back out, he's just going to be doing damage limitation for championship points. And what a shame that is for the championship leader, looking to capitalize on what has been a really good start for him. And unfortunately, that gives D'Olmo his first lead in the championship. Well, it's not his first lead because he was pole last week in the racing. And in front of him is a nice little battle with Andrew Medell battling Lars Monaco. And it looks like Lars getting the better this time by. But he is catching Andrew Medell. He's made up 13 places, and it's been a quiet race. He had 2 invalid laps on his qualifying, so he had to start the back. And he hasn't really done a lot of overtaking. He's just basically picked up the pickings from everyone dying.
Yeah, it really has. So let's see whether or not he can get by that 27 there, as Lars still holds him at bay for the time being. Daniel Stemon has come into the pit lane. And you mentioned D'Olmo. He's actually had 2 poles already this season. So Javier, looking to try and finally get his first win of the season, clearly has the pace. It's just he's got to execute here in the race itself. 20 minutes into this one as we watch this pair come down into Paddock Hill Bend, and Medell doesn't quite look close enough yet. However, they're now approaching, looks like Mika Tupola in front of them.
Yeah, Mika Tupola 2 seconds up the road from them. There is also, that is a lapped GTP, and Tim Phillips there, who is trying to get around the GTO first before he then gives it. And are they going to be able to get by him before they come through Surtees? Yeah, they get through. It's a little bit scrappy, but they all come through safely. And now it is a little bit of a race, but you can see Medell getting a little bit held up at Surtees, losing that slipstream, able to pick it up from Phillips. Just now a question of how quickly can he get back, because there it is, a slow GTP into Westfield. Not what he wanted to see. Can he get by finally? Get by finally. He's lost over a second just from that.
Seems like traffic is make or break here today. Oh, but we got to go back to second because Carl Moore made a move on Olsen up into Druids. Didn't quite work out, but he was side by side into there. And Jack Wells, amazingly, despite the contact, is still in fourth place rather, and in contention with this fight. I would have thought he'd be losing time, but I guess the traffic is just so dire today that you don't have to have the ultimate pace. And that is, again, Grau, if you're just joining us, the last one in that line that is not racing for position. So disregard that 14 car back there. They're going to sneak by Emerson Gaudin, who stays off to the side. Laust Olsen, and that's Gianluca Gabbiani now in front of them. Oh, and he is a little bit off. Unfortunately, that slows him up. Trying to go around the outside of the lap traffic. That checks up Laust Olsen. Moore not able to try and do anything with it. Jack Wells tries to poke his nose, decides no, not here quite yet. Are they able to finally go by Gabbiani in the front stretch? Yes, they are.
Finally get by, but that just brought everybody too close together. Moore looking to make a move down into Paddock Hill, and they continue to go side by side. The overlap is still there. Will Moore go for a late move down into Druids? He does, and he pushes Olsen a little bit wide. They do have a little bit of a touch, and now they continue side by side down into Graham Hill, and around the outside does Carl Moore go. That's a move around the outside, and with that lap traffic of Hamill Smith there, he should be able to capitalize on that. Brilliant move.
Just was not willing to give up at all on that one. So Carl up into second. Olsen, will he see him scatter off into the distance though? Sanchez at 10 seconds ahead has a huge buffer. No, the traffic once again is making it extremely difficult for all involved. But you know, I kind of don't blame them here, Craig, for trying to play it as safe as they can when they come upon the GTOs.
It's too tight. It's too tight, and you've also got the elevation changes here. We've seen what's happened. Look at the people we've seen get taken out of this race. I mean, we're looking already 13 cars out of 42 are still on the lead lap, and we had almost over 20 GTPs. Such is the nature of what's been happening here. Too tight, two blind corners, and you just got to take your time, and that is what they're doing. And I think Moore might be able to keep this because he is now starting to pull away. This is really multi-class racing. Multi-class racing brings everybody together in the worst way possible, let's be brutally honest.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is multi-class racing turned up to 11, essentially. This is insanity. But coming up the Pilgrim's drop, and there it is, back again, goes right back to Laust Olsen. Moore maybe a little too polite, waiting behind the likes of Andreas Schuster, and two wheels in the grass there. It seemed like Wells wanted to try and make this a more difficult issue himself. Unfortunately, could not sneak by. He's going to get held up by Robert Plumley, who finds himself at the apex right when Wells wants to be there. He loses ground now to Carl Moore. And up through Sterling, it hands right back to Laust Olsen there in the number 8. He's in second place once again.
Carl pinched himself there. He pinched himself by putting himself behind that GTP. Nothing he could have done. That was the line he was taking. And it was just that Laust was able to just get around the apex a little bit better, more rounded, was able to hold on here. Will they get past Del Olmo here? Now he's taking the lead, and I think they'll both get by. They will. And look though, just that little hesitation move, it does bunch everybody up. Wells is out of it at the moment. He needs a little bit of traffic to pull himself back in. But the nearest traffic is the Poa, 2 seconds away. So I can't see it yet. But never say never. There is that GTO of Mika Tepoa. They come by very quickly. Look at the speed difference in these old things. That's downforce versus no major downforce. That is a difference in the speed here. You can start to see why a lot of the drivers have been caught out today.
Also, I don't think we mentioned it, but Medell did get by Lars in the 27, so that puts Andrew into 7th place. Good job to him. Next on the road is going to be Pablo Suarez for him to try and chase down. And going by a very wounded Jean Orandane there, they were in that number 40 machine, just trying to stay out of the way. He is currently sitting 20th in his fields, and that's Wells. It's flashing his lights, letting him know he wants to go by. Well, never mind. Jean is just going to abandon this race for today, quite literally.
That's an interesting way to say goodbye, but he's just going to stay there. I think that's his race definitely done. Now, we haven't looked at the GTOs for a while, but Andreas Schuster is battling Ian Haycock, so we start to see a little bit of too wide going around here. We'll get back to that GTO in a moment, because that looks like it is Diego Mastretta versus Lard Monacorn, and he's looking. Diego looks for a move there, giving the old, I want to make a move, what are you going to do move there. Just giving him that dummy. It's not working for him. It was a three-car battle at one stage, but Medel starting to pull away from these drivers here as he's able to capitalize. These two, half a second between them, no traffic for a while. It's just going to be on slipstream right now.
Oh, and more has gotten by Laust Olsen again. This happened, this time not due to traffic, but Laust Olsen going off at Sheen Corner and somehow lived to tell the tale. Wonder if we could get a replay on that one. Laust all four wheels into the grass and somehow gathered it up before it just slid off into the Armco.
Let's have a look at this, because if you go off at Sheen's, it is not usually something you save. He's already clipped the grass a little bit, got a bit too wide sideways. He keeps on the grass, brilliant. You hit that gravel, I think it's done. And he was lucky there, because sometimes drivers go wide and they go wide and clip the grass and go around. He was able, he just understeered so straight there. He got lucky there. There have been times where you go off and it is the end of your race at that corner. And he's back up really to Moore. Look at it, he's back in the slipstream. Moore getting held up again by traffic. That is a lap GTP of Kurt Clapper. That is Jacobs Kusiak as well in front of him. Get by. Is he going to bookmark him? Look at that bookmarking. Putting a slower car in between you and your opponent. That is bookmarking. And if you bookmark twice, Jack Wells almost goes into the back of Laust Olsen.
Oof. And Wells really wants to try and get one of these spots, and he's using everything he can to do so as they fly down the front stretch, but he's going to lose out a little bit of time in the end. And in fact, he's going to have to make a pretty deep dive to go by Hideki Koivisto. Thankfully saw them coming and stays out of the way. Not that we're short on things to talk about, but we're halfway through the race now. And Craig, we definitely know that drivers can pit from here.
Pit window's open. Who's going to take it? Because, if you take a pit window here, are you trying to avoid the traffic? It's a bit too late. Wells trying to go for a move there. That's brave. You have to take that late apex at 30s, not making it work. Maybe a little rush of blood to the head there by Jack. And he was unable to make that work. But yes, can they go from the distance here? With a lot of lifting and braking early with these GTOs. I might be wrong. They might be able to. It's still up in the air if they can do it. Some drivers looking at fuel. Other drivers right now probably looking to see how long they can go. How are the tires as well? I know it's 69 Fahrenheit, 21 Celsius. Yeah, there's not a lot of track temp there to kill the tires, but how much have they been sliding those cars around?
Absolutely. And they've been doing plenty of that here today. So management of all the assets there on board are going to be critical. Also, Yuko Leskola, after 11 minutes of repairs, is back out in 14th. Now, that actually still scores points. However, it's only 2 points that he's going to be getting at 14th. So he's got to carry on. And one of his rivals, Buscemi, is actually back out in 15th. So he wants to keep going. He's got a lap over him right now, but he does not want to park it early because he'll want to keep that 9 car behind him in case of championship implications later down the line. And speaking of championship implications, Del Olmo, no doubt, is going to try his best to make sure he keeps those maximum points up at the front of the field. A 9-second lead over Robert Plumley currently. In fact, yeah, just barely seen Plumley in the background of the Brabham straight there as they flew up into the first corner. So barely catching hint of him in his mirrors.
Sorry, contact by Laust Olsen and Jack Wells. They are both in the gravel, and they could be out of this race. Neither of them have a meatball fly.
Leskola once again. No, is he out of the wall? No, Leskola pounds it into the barrier a second time. Oh, I can't catch a break today. That was Wells and Grau. And yeah, you're right. It looks like Olsen was involved in that as well. Olsen not with a meatball flag, so he's coming in of his own volition here. Let's see what kicked it off. I didn't even notice anything until he started shouting.
It was both of them. I think they got held up by the lap traffic and no one read it. You see it. 2 lap cars in front of them, both making a reactionary move to each other, and then where can they go? Unfortunately, where can they go? Olsen had nowhere to go. He had to slow down, and Wells was not ready for it. He had no vision. And there we go. Let's go. That's a painful one when you're going that slow. And even though you slow down as much as you can, you're still hitting that wall. And that's painful.
Yeah, it was a wild situation. Tim Phillips was slowing up because he was trying to let Michael de Turk by. And who is that off? It was Mistretta, who was at a very tight fight with Monkana there in the 27 car. So he is going to fall off by about 4 seconds now after that incident. Still, Mistretta's in 8th. He's up 3 positions. We were talking about Medell earlier. He's up 16 now in the 6th spot, that number 22 car. There you see him along the back half of the course. I don't think this is survival of the fittest. This is survival of the safest today.
I mean, that's Medell in a nutshell. He is a driver that will just give clean, consistent laps. He has actually just come back from work. I shouldn't say that he's going to watch this back afterwards. He's come straight from work, straight into work, got in, changed his clothes, got straight into the rig and signed up for the race. He has done a little bit of practice, but nothing else. We see that was Kurt Clapper going very wide and onto the grass just before Graham Hill with Chad Wells right there. And there is still some battles elsewhere, but this is crazy. In front of Jack Wells here, in front of Clappy, you've got these 2 cars. That is Hamill Smith and Doug Cloud going around. And they are trying to just give each other a place to go. Hamill Smith is trying to catch up there. Look at the lines they have to take. It's very weird. And that is another slow GTP. Now, that is another dead one at the same corner we've seen before. It's Westfield.
That was Victor Felix there on that one. And again, just offline entering the corner, it slipped him up, and he found the barrier on the inside. It was a hard hit, so he's done. We're hearing somebody may have lost their engine. We're trying to find it out on track. And, Buscemi's back out there. He blew up his engine earlier. He must not have repaired it well enough.
I reckon he's not taking full repairs. That's a dead engine. I don't think he's taking full repairs there. And I reckon there's still some damage to that engine, and it's just gone bye-bye yet again. Or it's just going to be tough. He gets around the apex before those GTP. Oh, my word. No one's fighting each other in that battle, but that was very sketchy, seeing almost 4 wide coming out of Sterling. But yeah, that's Buscemi, unfortunately, very slowly limping that car back. He does not want to tow that.
Meanwhile, Seamus Power is in, and did Olsen take a tow? Yes, he did. He had a massive accident, and it was at Sheen once again. He went off one time, and he got lucky, but he had lost that 4-leaf clover because away he spins into the Armco with a monster hit. And look who just about had another hit into there. It was Laust Olsen again. Or, no, excuse me, Leskala again, rather. There in the number 1 machine, just about plowed into him. Thankfully, was able to get by. This is going to be a race the 1 car would like to forget.
Does anybody want to win this race? It doesn't feel like anyone wants to win this race.
Sanchez and Del Olmo appear to.
Yeah, they're the only ones. This just feels like one of those that everyone's just been having their own their battles, their racing and making mistakes, while the leaders have just accepted that they're so ahead in the lead. And look at the gaps. I mean, 9 and 8 seconds isn't a big lead. But with what we've seen, it's crazy. I've just seen Tupola just spinning on the exit of Sterling. And there he is in at the wall. Where are we going? By the way, that puts Andrew Medell 5th. I mean, he's done nothing all race. I'm not knocking him because he is going to be hitting me if I make any criticisms for this race. But yeah, that's Medell in 5th place. I don't think he can count his lucky stars right now.
Still got 23 minutes left to go, and a pit stop, mind you. I mean, if our estimations are correct, unless these guys really are saving so much fuel just dealing with the traffic out there, just lifting and coasting when they can. But as I mentioned, only a couple I've seen have taken their stops. Seamus Power, one of them. Phil Lake had taken it earlier. Is he out? Yeah, Phil Lake is now already out of this race, so he's done. So yeah, I think only Power and then Stimon are done with pit stops in the GTPs. Maybe Farron Grau, not entirely sure, as he's had a 20-second stop. That looks to be about the time that he needed for fuel and tires. But as we continue to watch the 27 here on your screen, Ankana with Mistretta just behind him. Diego trying to use this lap traffic to see if he can gain on that red 27 car, breaking into Graham Hill Bend now as they swing back into the bottom of the bowl. Looking good for Andrew, or for Lars rather, for the time being, as he's keeping Diego easily behind.
Really holding on to this at the moment. Some really good lap times as well by them. Lars just having a slow lap last time by. But they've been able to keep the pace. And to be fair, they've been able to get around the lap traffic. I think both of these drivers know that it's a war of attrition right here. Just holding on. They do have Andreas Schuster coming up, and they won't get to him beforehand. This is the thing. You know you don't get to the driver beforehand. Let's take it easier. Diego there, a little bit of a tire slide there, and then he's having to go around the outside. That's risky. No matter what class, no matter what multi-class series you're in, that is risky.
Well, and the Audi drivers have repeatedly told the Nissans that if they make a pass around the outside, the Audis have to track out all the way to make the most of the corner. They're committed. So he's very lucky that Schuster was heads up right there as we now ride on board. I love these onboard shots with the Nissan. Really gives us a sense of how frantic it is and how much they're having to work everything inside the car.
It would be great if we had an animation just to show the gear stick changes, but then again, I'm a purist. That would just be fantastic. You get the idea. They're going around, they're having to shift. Some of these drivers are using the H patterns, some of them using the flappy paddles on their sim rigs, but they are having to clutch, and it is starting to show just that's challenge. I put in my notes at the start of the race, make sure you're in the right gear, because I did hear some reports in some of the races earlier in the week of some drivers. They were losing and missing out on gear changes because they were so focused on lapping these GTOs. So that is one they've got to be careful. Just tracking a little bit wide, just Mistretta, but able to keep it. He's basically just been keeping this gap the same and constant all the time. With 21 minutes to go, if either of these pit, which one's going to pit first? I'd say Lars.
Yeah, I got to think so. And I don't feel confident that he's going to be able to hold Diego behind if they pit on differing strategies. I feel like he's going to have some clear air and be able to kind of streak away. They dash past Stefan Leslie there in the 9th position. So one of our closest battles on the track. It's 4th, 6th in the GTPs. I say that, and yet I look over at 5th in the GTOs. Doug Cloud and Jamie Hamill-Smith, who've been glued together for some time, are still trying to decide this position just inside the top 5. Behind them is Jean Orendane right now.
Orendane trying to get by. Orendane can't work out where he wants to go here as he tries to unlap. And that does cause a little bit of confusion by both drivers, as Hamill-Smith having to keep going. Now let's just see what line happened to again. Orendane not getting away. The Turk now getting by as well. Lap traffic. If you're the lap car, you are going to be held up here making those moves. What was a close battle by these two, it's now a second, and again, more contact. Lap cars just catching each other out there.
That was Jean Orendane. Just him getting into the back of him. The Turk has already had his own problems in this race and is able to escape that one and carry on as he goes by Jamie Hamill-Smith. So there goes the battle between Hamill-Smith and Doug Cloud. Those two now separated unless they're brought together by the Turk. No, the Turk's easily passed down through. Oh, and I spoke too soon, giving a lot of berth to the apex there. Doug Cloud maybe giving up quite a bit of time there through Westfield.
Cloud, I don't know what's happened there. A little bit of a mistake, but he's able to. If he just keeps driving this safe, he might be able to get that position, but some time back on the position if that GTP goes for a move. He does not. A lot of braking there and does not. By the way, we did miss it. Mistretta did get past Lars early in the couple laps ago in that battle for 6th and 7th, sorry, in the GTPs. But still, we go. And, 18 minutes left. The top 8 in the GTPs have yet to pit. You'd think they'd be 5 minutes away from a pit stop if they were going aggressive, I think. I think we're now looking at the who can just sip the least amount of fuel.
That was Sanchez, then Moore, and now we're looking at Wells here, separated by 10 and 19 seconds between each of them. And we do have a car in the 27. That is Lars. So looks like he's taking his fuel and tires and should be returning to the track, we hope. Someone coming in behind him as well. That is, that's Sebastian, or no, excuse me, that is Schulte there in the 16.
Ian Haycock's just now coming into the pits for the GTOs as well, as he was having a little bit of a battle as well. Robert Plumley is now in P2. He is in P2. He has been around P2, and Andrea Schuster 6 seconds behind him. So now with those drivers pitting, you've got to start to wonder, is there going to be a reactionary pit stop by some of these drivers? Especially with, you look at the fact of some of these guys that were fighting, Lars now pitting. Does that mean Diego's forced to make a pit stop here? Wouldn't surprise me if he does. Probably 2 laps or something. We are coming close to a little bit of a window. It could be 50 laps, could be 51 laps, but with a pit stop to go, it could be different. No pit stops yet by the rest of the top 6 in the GTPs. Maybe, and I was thinking about this, do you think that was a pit stop to avoid the traffic?
It could be. Honestly, that'd be one of the best ways to try and get yourself an advantage if you see a whole gaggle of cars in front of you. Also, Jamie Hamill-Smith just exited pit lane with a scheduled stop. He is behind Ian Haycox after that. Haycox returns in 5th, Hamill-Smith in 7th. So those are your highest 2 to have taken a stop as we circle our way around Druids and back down the hill. We've got Tim Phillips in there, and that's David Thomas in the 41. Yuko Leskala in there again, and Jamie Hamill-Smith in front of them briefly before Sanchez overtakes them in the overall lead car here. So we have completed a full race distance for a normal race, and yet we still have these 16 minutes left to go. So I wonder who's feeling it, especially since there's really been no time for anybody to relax during this race.
Oh, it has been one of those lively races where you've just got to be on your toes all the time. And of course, if you're not used to 60-minute races, there are only a handful of series that do 60-minute races on the service. So if you're used to those 40-minute races that you see in some series, you get used to it. Now you're in unknown territory. With 45 minutes into the race, that is a length of a B license series. Now we're into an A license series length of an hour. Do they have not just the ability and the patience? Do they have the awareness? Because this is now in that final section where some people think the racing is over. You've still got to get around the track for the last 15 minutes. You've got to be aware. You've got to be alert, as we see Carl Moore finally coming into the pits there. That means we're now 5 of the top 6 have yet to pit.
Jack Wells follows him. So that's 2nd and 3rd coming in for service. Pablo Suarez carries on. Xavier Sanchez did not pit in. Seeing if Medell pits in. No, Andrew is going to stay out. So not many more are going to follow suit. We were wondering about Mastretta. Yes, Mastretta pits in the 13. Ooh, but he locked him up on the way in. I don't know if he's going to get a speeding penalty for that one. Actually, I guess I could.
Yet.
Yeah, no, if he doesn't have a black flag next to his name, then he's good. So, taking tires as he gets up on the jacks. And the driver from Club Mexico comes down, waits for the fuel to finish. Most of them seeing 20 to 25 seconds. It's going to be 22.7 for Diego before he's able to return. But critically, oh wait, no, that's not on the same lap. I thought he was coming out behind Laus Stolson. Forgot all the issues that we saw for the 8 car.
Yep.
Oh, that's Sanchez.
That's Sanchez, and now just keeping a look, because I know Lars was battling Diego, and Diego's got him pretty far out there after those pit stops. If you want the information, ladies and gentlemen, for the GTOs, 3 of the top 10 have pitted. As I say that, Robert Plumley comes in from P2, and Andreas does not join him there. So 4 of the top 10 in the GTOs have now pitted, and that is Medell on Carl Moore, but Medell's not going to give that up. But he is going to give that up, sorry, because Moore's just come into the pit. Medell is there because he is yet to pit. In fact, Medell's the last of the pitters. But can we say that, 20 positions he's officially made up in this race, even though he's going to have to pit? Let's just call it 20.
Yeah, he'll have to give some of those back. This does briefly push him into 3rd, but Wells will probably overtake him. Suarez, I would think, would also easily go by. Suarez has finished his pit stop, and potentially Seamus Power as well. But Andrew is trying to stretch it out as long as he can go. Kirk Clapper hasn't pit, but he and everybody else that still needs to stop are a lap down, so they haven't done as many laps as Medell. He's the only one to reach lap 39 of this race in the prototypes before taking fuel. There's Clapper certainly flirting with the edges of the circuit there and dipping the wheels into the grass. And Andrew is in. Andrew is pitting now.
Yeah, let's see where he comes out. We are thinking he's going to be coming out about 5th, we reckon. Maybe 6th if Seamus gets by. Seamus, one of the earlier pitters. Up on the Jack T goes into the pit lane. Jack Wells is going to be going by him any moment now. See another car just coming into the pits. That's the 17 of Andreas Schuster coming in. And Medell now coming out. Seamus Power's going to get by him, so it will be P5 for Medell. Power goes by him, and where is Mastretta? Mastretta is only hitting Clark Curve right here, so Medell will keep that P5. It is still, it is still P6, sorry. It is still a very good showing from the man who started on the 2nd to last row in the GTPs.
And frankly, I wouldn't say that 6 is the end of it for him. I'm not thinking he'll be able to run down Power in only these 11 minutes. He's got to make up 10 seconds. I do think, though, that we're going to see some more drama before this is done with. Doug Cloud has now pitted in. We're waiting on Del Olmo and Gaudin to take their pit stops in the GTOs. Del Olmo is our current leader, and that is by pace. That is not just by him staying out long in this race in that 7 car.
Yeah, if you missed the start of the race, Lesker unfortunately crashed out due to an incident, earlier in the race. And that is why Del Olmo is leading the way. Lesker unfortunately took pole position and was dominating, and unfortunately racing incidents happen. As I'm just seeing, is that Sintes Galindo and Kurt Clapper having a little bit of a scrap around Del Olmo? It is. Those two battle on for what is 11th and 12th overall in the race. But still, Javier Sanchez is the only driver in this race to not lose or gain a position. He has kept in 1st since he put that car on pole. And it has been a pretty quiet race for him in terms of fighting. But getting around the traffic, that's a whole different story.
Now, we did not pay attention to the stops for the GTOs close enough because Haycox had 4 seconds quicker in his box compared to Plumley. That has jumped him ahead and into 2nd place. Ian is looking at a potential podium, and I'll have to look and see when the last time was that he finished on the podium, because I think it's been a minute.
Yeah, but also you got to think he's 43 seconds behind Del Olmo. Del Olmo, if he has a mistake in the pit, I'm knocking on wood, we don't want anyone to have any mistakes in the pit. He could be in line for the victory. Oh, Del Olmo comes into the pits as I say that. He's all good, unless he had a long pit stop, but I don't see it. There's no real damage there. Everything's going for. There is some damage, but not enough to make him forced to sit in that car for very long. He should keep that lead, while Del Olmo, he starts to roll. It's only about 30 seconds here, so he's going to keep a 15-second lead at the most, as Ian is now back. Ian's just been taken out! Ian's just been taken out! By Javier Sanchez, by the leader of the GTPs.
Oh, well, this damage hurt Sanchez enough that Moore could run him down. He's now a mere 4 seconds and dropping quickly. Sanchez is getting back up to speed. It's under 4 seconds now. I'm looking at the car. It looks okay from this angle. Can we get a replay of what happened there?
coming into Sterling's. Here we go. Sanchez will be the red GTP in the background there with the GT. Just go. He gets on the grass. He got on the grass, completely unaware of where he was. Ian left in the room, and Javier just... That's unfortunate for Javier. I put both of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, he thought maybe he was going to go around the outside and tried to stay to the middle of the track. So, yeah, that was a slightly unpredictable. But then Sanchez touching the grass was really his own doing. He wasn't forced onto the green stuff there. Looks like he is able to hold at about 4.5 seconds over Carl Moore. But like Guy just said, this is not over. You cannot count your position in Kamel GT until you see that checkered flag. So Sanchez has got to be safe. He's got to be careful not to throw this victory away. It was easily in his clutches.
One mistake, that concentration, that lapse of concentration can show. And also, Ian Haycock was looking at battling for P2 with Robert Plumley. He's now looking to keep his podium alive with Andreas Schuster now on the back of him. There is some significant damage to that wing. Not that it does a lot on these little GTOs. Significant damage to that wing on the back of Ian's car, that number 11 green car. Can Andreas make any move here? I wonder, when they come down to Pilgrim's Drop, what speed difference is there going to be in these two cars? Yes, Andreas is going to get a little bit slipstream, but is it going to be a significant drop? Because that wing, it looks like someone sat on it, if I'm brutally honest. Look at it. You can actually just see it in this cockpit view here. Look at how that wing is looking. Meanwhile, Andreas, I think he's just waiting. I think he knows. Comes down Pilgrim's Drop, he's got this position.
Tries to square it off compared to Haycock's, but it doesn't look... Oh, and he's slow. Did he miss a shift? Oh, couldn't get it into the right gear, and there goes that. So, Ian, I shouldn't have said he was going to be getting a podium here. I seem to have cursed the guy, so I'm not going to say anything at this point. This race is not over. 11 has to carry on and fight hard here. Schuster still could be slightly quicker than him in the remainder of this race. But that did separate a few of our close battles. Sanchez lost 2 more seconds. Carl Moore
he's been held up. I think he's been held up by traffic. Keeping an eye on it, the gap is, when I started looking, the gap was about 3 seconds, held up by traffic going into Clark. And it's now 3 seconds because Carl getting held up by lap traffic as well. And that is a destroyed engine there. That is the 19 of Fonseca. Is that a destroyed engine? No, he's just come out the pits. I thought that engine was smoking.
He had a little bit of contact with the wall, and Druids went wide. Not sure if that was something where he had help or if he did that on his own. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye as the car slid into the barrier. But Sanchez now catching up to his own lap traffic. Hideki Koivisto staying off out of the way. Gabbiani in his own class. Is Gabbiani going to lift and let him through? He's running in 12th position as the 32 stays off to the side to let them by and is trying to find an opening.
Take it easy, Michael. That's the worst place. Sorry, Joe. I was going to say, that's the worst place to spin. We've seen the guys come off the track, hit the wall, bounce back on. That's one reason, but also just what we saw there with 32 there, Michael. It's getting the car pointing the right way because of just how quickly Sterling comes after Sheen. It's at such a high-speed combination. You've got to be careful there.
Well, it's back up to 2.7 now. Sanchez responding. Also, I know we're not covering the lead in the GTOs much, but Del Olmo is a full 17 seconds ahead of Plumley. So he's sitting pretty, even though it's not guaranteed, but we'll check in with it every once in a while to see if anything has happened there. Down to 2.1, a little bit of a holdup for Sanchez there through Surtees and along Pilgrim's Drop. So more gains some of that time. He can probably just catch him around some of these corners up ahead.
Can he just hold on? We just saw this. We're just looking at this P3 battle here with P5, sorry, with Power and Medell. Medell has been putting in lap time after lap time, and you join it just as Power is getting a little bit of a door check there from lap cars trying to get by. He knows he's in desperate times here. Power's been losing almost a second a lap to Medell going around here the last couple laps. Medell, I think, taking the fresher tires, really using that to his advantage, putting sub 11-second times in now, which is really good, especially at this stage of the race. Lap traffic is not going well for them. Lap traffic giveth, lap traffic taketh away. You see that Power, I wouldn't be surprised. Do you think Power's taken tires, or do you think that's aero? Because he's not looking comfortable at the moment. I mean, you wouldn't be looking comfortable with 3 minutes ago. You've got a guy breathing down your neck for P5, but he does not look comfortable out there.
Well, I got to think that everybody, if they were smart in the prototypes, did take tires, because I'm pretty sure they are free with fuel. They do not have to go one or the other. Ian Haycox, though, is trying to keep Schuster from getting a freebie and getting onto the podium. He goes wide, maybe trying to let the GTP through. That was Mastretta. Wow, big cover off down the inside as Haycox, as soon as that prototype slipped through, he shut the door.
Shut the door, and he knew what he had to do. He made that just in time. He didn't go all the way to the right, just pulled his car enough over the center just to make a second get there for Schuster. He does have a couple of opportunities there. That is a lapped GTP going by them when they come around to Surtees. Who gets the better run? It does look like Schuster's got it. Nowhere to go to overtake, though, because of that GTP. And the GTP holds off now, and Schuster's going to get the advantage. Down they go into Hawthorne. Schuster can't do it. Did not have the line, and I don't think we'll see it now going into Westfield or Sheen. But you've got to start thinking, he's starting to get there with 2 minutes to go. How long can that damaged car of Ian Haycock survive?
And how eager is Schuster? Is he going to make an aggressive move somewhere? Just try and elbow his way past. He's got Thomas just in. Oh, but Thomas... Yeah, I don't know if that was to dissuade Thomas from trying to go through, or if Schuster was really trying to have a go at Haycox. Whatever the case, it held up the prototype. Now he is able to go by, and this might open the door down into Paddock Hill Bend. No, he's going to slide off. Schuster makes the mistake. He buckles to the pressure, and there goes the podium for the 17 as he clatters into the tires.
Egg there for Andreas Schuster. It looked like he just took a bit too much. We start to saw the back of the car sliding out as he went for the brakes. And I don't think he caught the gravel there, but something must have happened there. Probably just a little bit of braking with turning. Did not work for him. Heart ache there for Schuster. And you've got to think, if you're Ian Haycox right now, you are breathing a sigh of relief, because that is something that you are not looking forward to with the 1 minute left. I believe Sanchez is on the last lap. No, there's another lap to go, sorry.
Yep.
There's another lap to go.
It's going to be white flag this time by for Sanchez, but it is down to 1.1 seconds. One thing we haven't talked about is fuel. Sanchez put in 20.9 seconds in, Carl 19.8. So if anything, Carl would be the one we'd expect. Oh, and another car off. That was Tupel. Was that involved with Haycox there?
Did not see. We may have a look at that, but he might have caught up with that. You see, he's off now. Haycock.
He avoided it. He avoided it. I can confirm.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. That's yeah. But that did lose it. The white flag is flying though, and look at that gap between the two of them. It's 3/10, as Joe just said. Is there going to be a move from Moore here? You've got to think this is damage from that wreck earlier as he tries to go around through it. This is going to be very close. In fact, I think Carl's gone a bit too wide there. Javier might have this now.
Sanchez has still got to keep it clean, and he's got to worry about lap traffic. Robert Plumley is in front of them, and he's the only GTO that is close enough for them to catch. They're going to catch him on Pilgrim's Drop. This is great for Sanchez, bad for Moore. He wanted him to try and be held up here. They do have some GTPs up the road, but I don't think it's enough of a lap for them to run him down and be a hindrance here for Sanchez. But can he keep the pace up? Can he keep Moore behind all the way to the checkered flag? He cannot rest on his laurels with how close that 4 car is. Through Sterling, one more turn to go. Through Clark. Can Sanchez get the win here today and become the 4th different winner this season in the prototypes? Yes, he can. Xavier Sanchez is your victor here at Brands Hatch.
Fantastic defense there from Javier at the end of the race. Manages to hold on. And one thing that does also say as well is that Javier De Olmo will be winning the GTOs because Robert Plumley was right behind them as they went to that line. So we know the winner of the GTO. We know most of the positions as well. what a finish. That is 0.163. It was nip and tuck at the end. We've still got a battle at the line. Pablo Suarez just missing out on Jack Wells there for third and fourth. And does Medell have a move here on Seamus Power here? This is going to be a last lap. No, and look how close it was. For first and second, third and fourth, fifth and sixth, those battles were separated by 2 tenths, 7 tenths, and 5 tenths. What a race.
Medell's got to be at least a little frustrated, thinking he could have had a top 5 starting from all the way back in 22nd position today. But Del Olmo is coming to the line nice and cool and slow. I think he knows he's the last one, or the only one on this lap for the GTOs, as he will finally get a well-deserved victory here today in the UK for the 4th round of the Kamel GT Series. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride. And he looked at me and just said, Dad, don't be a moron.
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they got into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Brands Hatch. Our 4th round of the Kamel GT Series was action-packed out there today, but it was Xavier Sanchez who won it from the pole. However, it was certainly not an easy one for him. It came down to less than 0.2 of a second at the line between them. Carl Moore chasing him down at the end. Xavier with a wreck close to the latter half of the race just seemed to have slowed him up enough. Jack Wells, though, gathered up a 3rd place finish to complete the podium. Pablo Suarez was 4th, and Seamus Power got a top 5. But Andrew Medell certainly earned some kudos, failing to set a qualifying time, didn't let that stop him, kept the car safe, went from 22nd to 6th. Mastretta was 7th behind him, Daniel Schulte P8. Then you've got Lars Machina in 9th, last one on the lead lap. Heitor Sintez Galindo, multiple problems out there today. He was in 10th. Michael Spohn was 11th, and you get 2 laps down already with Michael de Turkin 12th, Gianluca Gabbiani P13, and Kirk Clapper 14th. Ryan Lang, Daniel Stimon, and Tim Phillips were the last to finish in the GTPs, with the rest being DNFs.
In the GTOs, Javier Del Olmo will get his first win of the season, converting a podium, well, not a podium, converting a P2 for a victory. He was the only driver on the lead lap of the GTOs, as everybody else got lapped. So Robert Plumley finishes a lap behind. Everyone finishes a lap behind in Haycox, getting P3 after a scare near the end of the race there. Andreas Schuster does get P4, even with his scare as well. Jamie Hamel-Smith gets a very quiet P5. Doug Cloud gets P6, and it's Emerson Golden in 7th. Hideki Kobe-Visto will be 8th. Carlos Fonseca doing his own version of Andrew Medell, not sending a lap and coming in 8th in the group after fit, starting on the back of the field. And Stephanie Leslie will be 10th, a lap behind everybody. Mika Tapoa will be 3 laps down in 11th. Jacob Kushak will be in 12th. Lascella, the less we say, the better. Unfortunately, crashed out there from the lead. He finishes a few laps down. Marvin Lowell also finishing in 14th, a few laps down. Gregorio Buscemi, he crashed out as well. Connor Babel and Andreas Schumacher crashed out very early in the race as well.
Well, we'll give it a second because I think everybody's still catching their breath after that race. We don't have anybody ready for us in the interview room, but I'm pretty certain based on some of these results, there's going to be some guys that'll be happy and some that will be less than thrilled in today's race. Next time out will be a little bit more of a bigger track. So thankfully, there'll be some room at Sebring. However, it'll be very bumpy, and that's always tough in a car that needs it to be glued to the road with a Nissan to try and keep from bounding around and destroying the suction of the ground effects in that car. Craig, so 2 races now that you've been able to get up into the booth, so I'm kind of curious. Oh, we'll have to come back to that. Excuse me. It looks like we do have one of our drivers ready to talk to us, Laust Olsen, who did actually finish the race, but he was many, many laps down after having his incidents out there. Laust, you were one of multiple victims of Brands Hatch today. What is it about this place that gobbles up so many cars in Kamel GT?
Oh, it's a difficult track, I think. It's narrow and again the speed difference, especially in the faster corners, are quite big. So anticipating the traffic and not running or hitting the GTOs from behind, and that can be difficult. So that's probably some of the issues. And then it was quite hectic, a lot of cars and a lot of traffic. So it's quite hard for on the mental side also. So requires a lot of concentration.
And it looks like you lost a little bit of that coming through Sheen. Twice we saw you go off through that corner. The second time it sent you into the barrier. Is that one that you consider particularly tough for you, or is it just some of that mental fade that you were mentioning?
Mental fate, I would say. It's not the corner I usually have troubles with. So, but I was very tense and very high pulse today. So I didn't feel I drove very well, sliding all over the place, making lots of small mistakes. Had some great battles, but I was also under a lot of pressure. So I must say I failed under pressure today.
It looked like it. Well, I apparently am getting some surprising news, which I'm double checking, and it looks to be correct. I don't know if you knew, you took the fastest lap of the race on the last lap.
Okay.
I don't know how that you did that, and I doubt it means much since it isn't worth any points, but is that any crumb of comfort?
Yeah, but it wasn't fast enough. Actually, I tried, but it was difficult with the traffic. But I didn't have anything else to drive for, and I was trying to beat the old fastest lap from some seasons ago, but didn't quite manage it. I think it was a 10.0, so I was a tenth or two from that. So I tried, but couldn't manage that either.
Well, it was worth a shot. Commiserations, yeah. And we hope to see you when we head off to Florida next week.
Sure, I'll be there.
That was Laust Olsen, who had to settle for 18th in class. Up next, a man who had a much better race, going to be talking to Craig King. It's Andy Medell.
Yeah,
hello,
Andrew. Congratulations on what really was a really great drive. I mean, first of all, let's talk through the qualifying. You kind of had 2 bad qualifying laps, I see.
Yeah, the first one I spun off and hit the wall, and then got an off track. I think on the second lap or something. It was so long ago, I can't remember now. So ended up having to start at the back.
Now, I know Andrew from multi-class racing, so he is very well skilled at the multi-class racing. So starting at the back would probably be something that would help. What was the drive to survive here? Were you hunting down, or were you just saying to yourself, let's just take this slow and let's just hope for the best?
Well, in the opening laps, I was just trying to get as many positions as possible. Any opportunity I had for ascend, I made a couple of launches from quite far back into Druids, and used the traffic to the advantage in the opening run through the GTOs. And I think I managed to get up to about 11th or 12th place by the end of the first round of traffic.
Talk us through the traffic, because traffic on any track is tough. Brands Hatch is a very narrow track. So talk us through that traffic, especially because we know there are a few corners that are no-nos.
It's with the GTOs, it's tricky because you get so much of a better launch out of the corner, but it's still hard to get that send because they just understeer so much. So you got to be very careful where you put the car. But as long as you're decisive and pick your points and make yourself known that you're going to make the move, generally it all comes off cross quite clean.
Now, you weren't here last week because you were in France, so you've only had 2 races this season. Next week, we're at Sebring. What are we going to look from you from that? Because I think so. A little bird told me that might be one of your favorite tracks.
It is, yeah. Sebring's definitely one of my stronger tracks on the service, so definitely looking forward to getting into the race next weekend and seeing what we can do there.
Oh, Andrew, it was a fantastic drive up the field, starting 22nd, making 16 places up, finishing in 6th. I hope you have a good evening and a good rest of your weekend. We look forward to seeing you once again at Sebring in the series, but until then, have a good weekend.
Thank you very much.
So, Andy Medell finishing 6th, just outside of the top 5, but still should be proud of that finish. And that's going to wrap us up for this afternoon with Kamel GT. Everybody take a breath. Thank you to the Kamel series, actually the Kamel community, for bringing us back for another season of coverage of this series. And again, thank you to the team today, Craig, Zach, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, Sebring, will be Saturday, July 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts as well, listed here on your screen. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.